Good morning, my dear friend. In this quiet early morning, when the sky is just beginning to soften and the first light of dawn gently touches the world, there is a sacred stillness that does not come again so easily during the day. The air feels different at this hour. Noise has not yet claimed its space. Demands have not yet raised their voices. This moment, right now, is one of the most intimate times to breathe, to listen, and to be present before God. Somewhere, someone is waking up today with a heavy heart. Perhaps that someone is you. Maybe you opened your eyes after a restless night, your mind already racing before your feet even touched the floor. There are people who greet the morning carrying fear they do not talk about, grief they hide behind routine, or exhaustion that has settled so deeply it feels normal. There are those who have lost something precious, someone they loved, sense of direction, or even hope itself. They move through their days doing what must be done, while quietly wondering how much longer they can keep going. The morning does not always feel like a fresh start. Sometimes it feels like another reminder of what has not changed. Bills are still waiting, memories still ache, questions still linger without answers. And yet, even here, even in this fragile space between night and day, God is present. Dawn itself is a reminder that darkness does not have the final word. Light does not rush in violently. It arrives gently, faithfully, and with purpose. This is where faith begins to speak, not as denial of pain, but as a deeper truth that reaches beneath it. Faith reminds us that what weighs on the heart does not define the future. It reminds us that unseen struggles are still seen by God. And it assures us that chains we have grown used to carrying are not meant to remain forever. Prayer is not an escape from reality. It is a doorway into alignment. When we pray, we are not pretending everything is fine. We are choosing to bring what is broken, tired, or fearful into the presence of the one who restores. Prayer allows the soul to exhale. It creates space for healing, for clarity, and for strength to rise where weakness once ruled. In these moments, faith becomes more than belief. It becomes trust. Trust that God can meet us exactly where we are. Trust that renewal does not require perfection. Trust that even now, even this morning, something can begin to shift within us. As you listen, I invite you to slow your breathing and quiet your thoughts. You do not need to perform. You do not need to have the right words. Simply allow your heart to be open. This is not a speech. It is a conversation, a sacred meeting between your soul and God at the threshold of a new day. Let this morning be more than routine. Let it be a turning point, a gentle but powerful step into freedom, healing, and renewed strength wherever you are. Whatever you are carrying, you are not alone. Take this moment, and let us begin the journey together. Dear Heavenly Father, I come before you at the very beginning of this day, not pretending to be strong, not hiding what feels heavy, but standing honestly in the place where my heart truly is. As this morning unfolds, I admit that I wake carrying weight I did not ask for. Thoughts that arrived before peace, and emotions that feel louder than hope. I do not come to impress you or to use perfect words. I come because I need you, because my soul knows that without your presence, this day would already feel too much. Father, there are moments when I feel worn before I even begin. The night may be over, yet its echoes still linger in my mind. Worries follow me into the light. Fear whispers before courage has a chance to speak. Some mornings I rise with strength, but today I rise with honesty. I acknowledge the fatigue in my spirit, the quiet anxiety in my chest, and the questions I carry that have no clear answers. I bring them to you instead of carrying them alone. You see the parts of me that feel crowded and restless. You know the places where I have learned to endure instead of expect. I confess that sometimes I grow used to heaviness and call it normal. I learn to function while hurting, to smile while struggling, and to move forward while feeling stuck inside. Father, I do not want to live numb or resigned. I do not want to accept burdens you never intended me to carry. As the light slowly rises outside, I ask that clarity would rise within me. Let this morning be a moment of awakening, not driven by urgency, but grounded in truth. Help me recognize what I have been holding onto out of habit, fear, or survival. Show me what needs your healing touch rather than my endurance. I invite you into the hidden corners of my heart, into the thoughts I rarely say out loud, into the emotions I rush past because they feel uncomfortable. Father, I acknowledge that some of my struggles have grown quietly. They did not arrive suddenly, but settled over time. Fear that went unchallenged, disappointment that hardened into expectation, wounds that were never fully healed. I place all of this before you now. I ask for the grace to stop minimizing what matters to my soul. Teach me to see my inner life through your eyes, not through exhaustion or self-judgment. I choose this morning to pause instead of rushing ahead. I choose to breathe in your presence and release the tension I woke up with. I choose to believe that this day does not have to repeat yesterday, even if nothing around me changes immediately. Something within me can begin to shift. Let awareness replace avoidance. Let truth gently interrupt what has become familiar but unhealthy. Father, meet me here at the start, before plans are made, before decisions are taken, before the noise of the day surrounds me. I ask you to steady my heart. I do not ask for instant solutions. I ask for your nearness. Let your peace begin to settle where restlessness has lived. Let your light touch the places I have learned to hide. As this day begins, I place my trust not in my strength, but in your faithfulness, and I remain here, open, listening, and willing to begin again. Father, as the stillness of this morning continues to wrap around me, I stay here with you, resting in the quiet that feels safe enough to tell the truth. What I began to feel earlier, this weight I have carried without always understanding it, is becoming clearer. I sense that not all of it is mine to carry, and yet I have let it settle on my shoulders for so long that it started to feel like part of me. Today, I want to see it for what it really is. I do not want to keep living tangled up in things I cannot name. Help me name them now. Some chains do not come with noise. They do not announce themselves like disasters or emergencies. They grow slowly, silently, a hesitation here, a memory I avoid there, a decision made from fear instead of faith. These chains do not scream, but they whisper just enough to shift my direction, to shrink my hope, to make me question what you have spoken. I bring these hidden patterns to you, Lord. I do not want to call them normal anymore. I do not want to protect what has kept me bound. I think of how many choices I have made out of quiet fear of being left out, fear of failing, fear of disappointing someone, even fear of succeeding and not being able to keep up. I confess that I have obeyed fear more than I have listened for your voice. It has crept into my language, my posture, my habits. Sometimes I catch myself speaking with hesitation, thinking small, avoiding risk. But behind all of that, there is a chain one that I let stay too long. I do not want to serve fear anymore. I confess also the chains of self-protection, where I have tried to guard myself from future pain by numbing my emotions or keeping people at a distance. I have told myself I was just being wise, but deep down I know it was fear of vulnerability. I have missed out on peace because I was too busy protecting myself from the possibility of being wounded again. Father, help me untangle this defense that has become a prison. Help me to see where I have closed my heart, not because you told me to, but because pain made me believe it was the only way to survive. Lord, I bring to you the memory-based chains, the moments from my past that I have buried but never truly surrendered, the voices that told me I was not enough, the betrayal that taught me to stay silent, the rejection that convinced me to play small. These are not just stories. They are old rooms I still visit, sometimes without even noticing. But they shape how I expect life to unfold. They shape how I pray, how I relate, and how I trust. I do not want those rooms to define my future. Help me see the patterns that I have allowed out of convenience, the behaviors I excused because I was tired, the compromises I made because they were easier than confrontation, the silent agreements I made with pain, telling myself it would always be like this. These things did not begin with loud rebellion. They began when I told myself I could handle it on my own. But I cannot. I am done pretending. I need you to show me what has become a chain in disguise. Father, even the routines I cling to, some of them have become chains. Business that keeps me from listening. Overthinking that keeps me from resting. People-pleasing that keeps me from being honest. These things look productive, even admirable, but they are robbing me of presence, of freedom, of joy. I do not want to spend another day chained to what looks successful but leaves me empty. Even silence, Lord, even silence can become a chain. The times I should have spoken but stayed quiet. The moments I needed to express my heart but swallowed it instead. The boundaries I needed to set but allowed to stay blurred. I thought silence was strength, but now I see how it has often been fear in disguise. Father, free my voice. Teach me again how to speak with truth and gentleness without shrinking back. Show me the beliefs I have held that were never aligned with your truth. The thoughts that begin with I always, or I never, or people like me can tea. The conclusions I have made from disappointment instead of from your promises. Teach me to test my thoughts, not just entertain them. Show me how to challenge what does not reflect the mind of Christ. I no longer want to agree with lies that make me feel safe, but keep me stuck. Lord, I do not want to live in reaction to what hurt me. I want to live in response to your voice. That means identifying what has quietly taken root in me. I need you to search the layers I have ignored. Expose, not to shame me, but to free me. Shine light on what I have explained away. Name what I have numbed. Gently hold the places I did not know were still bleeding. There is nothing too hidden for you. There is nothing you cannot bring into alignment. I pray you would help me become more aware, not anxious, but attentive. Let me notice when I am repeating a pattern that no longer serves who you have called me to be. Let me pause when my actions are being led by fear, shame, or guilt. Let me question the reflex before I call it reality. Give me courage to stop mid-sentence if I hear an old chain shaping my words. Show me the exit door from the cycles I have mistaken for personality. I want to walk lighter. I want to rise freer. But first I must see what I have been dragging behind me. Help me recognize what I once accepted but no longer need to carry. Let truth become the light that exposes every false agreement. Let love be the voice that speaks louder than fear. Let grace be the hand that gently untangles the knots I have held in my soul for far too long. I do not want to wake another morning chained to yesterday's silence. Here in your presence, I will not hide from what you already see. I will not defend what you came to heal. I open my hands and ask you to reveal, to speak, and to guide. As this day unfolds, let it not just be a new calendar date, the beginning of a new way of being aware, unchained, and grounded in truth. Father, as I stay in this quiet space with you, I feel how necessary is not just to recognize what has been binding me, but to take the next step. What I have carried is no longer hidden. It has been named, but now I realize that seeing the chains is not the same as breaking them. Something deeper is required. I have to go back to the place where my soul said yes to what you never approved. And with your help, I must take that yes back. I did not always agree with fear in loud ways. It happened in small, quiet places. When I let fear interrupt what I once hoped for. When I settled for less because I did not believe more was possible. When I assumed the pain would come again, so I braced for it and called that wisdom. I said yes to survival, not knowing it would cost me peace. I said yes to control, not knowing it would rob me of trust. And somewhere in those silent moments, my heart began to believe that bondage was safer than surrender. But you never made me to live bowed down under invisible weight. You never wrote resignation into my story. You never asked me to worship at the altar of fear, even when fear came wrapped in logic or disguised as caution. So today, I bring these old agreements into the light. I refuse to make peace with what poisons my joy. I withdraw my yes from every lie that whispered I am too broken, too late, too far gone. I revoke the permission I gave to voices that sounded like truth, but carried no love. God, I remember moments where disappointment rewrote what I believed, times I prayed and did not see the answer, times I trusted and felt let down. I let those moments harden into conclusions. I told myself not to expect too much. I taught myself to aim lower. And without realizing it, I agreed with hopelessness. I said yes to a smaller version of life because I thought it would hurt less. But you are not the author of hopelessness. You are the one who restores. So today, I break that agreement. I will not call closed what you still intend to open. I confess that I have also agreed with shame, not just the feeling, but the identity. I believed I had to prove I was worthy. I believed that what I did wrong disqualified me from what is right. I let shame build a script in my head that repeated itself more faithfully than your truth. I whispered apologies you never required. I carried guilt you had already removed. But today, I let your voice be louder than shame. I renounce the lie that I am what I regret. I reject the belief that healing is not for me. Lord, I remember when I agreed with silence. When I felt something was wrong but did not speak. When I needed help but feared being judged. When I told myself that my pain was too small to matter, or too much for anyone to carry. That silence taught me how to disappear in plain sight. But you never asked me to disappear. You called me to live whole. I break that silence now, not with loudness, but with truth. I declare that my story is not too messy for redemption, that my voice, even shaky, still matters to you. I also acknowledge the ways I have agreed with limitation. I framed my future based on my past. I chose relationships that mirrored my wounds, not my worth. I stayed in patterns because they were familiar, not because they were right. I agreed with ceilings that you never placed over me. But you are not a God of ceilings. You are the one who opens what no one can shut. So I release every belief that tells me this is all there will ever be. I step away from the mindset that waits for another's permission to walk free. God, help me see the difference between humility and self-rejection. I once thought that denying my gifts was spiritual, that playing small was holy. But you created me with purpose. You gave me a voice, a mind, and a calling. You do not need me to shrink to show your glory. You shine through the fully alive. I break agreement with false humility. I no longer believe that hiding honors you. I choose to stand where you have placed me, not in pride, but in reverence for your design. Even in my thought life, I see where I have allowed lies to settle. I have repeated phrases like nothing ever changes or why bother without recognizing them for what they are. They sound like logic, but they are resignation. They echo pain, not promise. I ask you to expose those phrases. Let them no longer blend into the background of my mind. Give me discernment to recognize toxic thinking before it turns into decisions. Help me catch the lie at the root, not just deal with the fruit it bears. I pray now against agreement with fear of man. Have let other people's approval define my worth. I have chased acceptance when I should have pursued obedience. I have adjusted my words to fit into spaces you never called me to stay. But today, I break that tie. I choose to honor you more than I fear rejection. I choose to speak even when my voice trembles. To live even when it means leaving what is familiar. To obey even when it is misunderstood. I belong to you, not to the expectations of others. Father, If there are vows I made in pain, vows like I will never trust again, or I will always be alone, I ask you to help me undo them. I may have said them in moments of anguish, but I no longer want them to shape my life. I do not want my future to be written by my trauma. I want it to be written by your truth, so I surrender those inner vows to you. Replace them with promises that come from your heart, not from my fear. Let your word be the framework of my expectation, not my history. I ask you to help me walk in renewed agreement, not with old patterns, but with eternal truth. I want to agree with peace, with wholeness, with restoration. I want to think thoughts that echo heaven, not just repeat earthly wounds. I want to respond from a place of healing, not react from a place of hurt. Let my mind align with your spirit. Let my speech align with your promises. Let my habits align with my identity in you. Lord, I know that breaking agreement is not just a one-time prayer. It is a practice, a daily turning away from what once felt true but no longer fits. A daily rechoosing of faith over fear, truth over narrative, love over self-defense. Give me the grace to keep choosing when old lies try to return with familiar voices. Give me strength to say no when shame knocks on the door with familiar language. Remind me that it no longer has authority here. When doubt invites me back into survival mode, let me remember who I am and whose I am. I no longer want to build a life on compromised foundations. I want to live from truth, to walk in clarity, and to breathe in the freedom you already purchased. So as I continue this day, let my steps reflect this shift. Let my thoughts echo this release. Let my heart walk lighter, not just because the chains have been exposed, but because the inner yes that gave them power has been replaced with a deeper yes to you. Lord, now that I have broken ties with lies that once claimed space in my heart, I find myself in an unfamiliar place. There is room where fear used to live, where shame used to whisper, where silence used to settle. But as that room opens up, I feel its quietness. And with that quietness comes something I did not expect: uncertainty. Because when you have lived so long in agreement with survival, letting go means stepping into a space you have not fully trusted in a while. And trust, Lord, is something I want back, but I confess it is something I must relearn. Father, you know the moments that reshaped my ability to trust, the prayers I whispered in full faith that did not unfold the way I hoped, the seasons where silence followed my deepest cries, the people I depended on who walked away or stayed and wounded, the times I believed I was following your leading only to feel lost again. I never stopped believing in you, but I started protecting myself from hope. I began to edit my prayers before I even spoke them, trimming them down to something I could handle if they went unanswered. I do not want to pray like anymore. I do not want to live like that either. So today, I bring you my raw and imperfect trust. I do not have to rebuild it alone. I ask you to help me start again, not by proving yourself, because you owe me nothing, by healing the parts of me that got hardened in the waiting. Let my heart become soft again. Let me believe that hope is not dangerous. Let me come to you like a child again, even if that child is carrying years of guarded prayers. God, when I look back, I can name the moments that shaped my fear, but I can also name the moments when you never left, the comfort that met me in dark places, the peace that made no sense in the middle of chaos, the way you kept showing up in small ways even when I could not see the big picture. I have not forgotten those moments. They are anchors in my memory. Help me remember not just what hurt, but what held, not just what failed, but what remained. You remained. You always do. And now I choose to trust you not because I know what will happen next, but because I know who you are. You are steady when life is unpredictable. You are faithful when others falter. You are kind even when I am unsure. You do not shame my questions. You invite them. You do not rush my healing. You walk with me. You do not punish my doubts. You respond with presence. That is the kind of Father you are, and that is why I can come to you, even now, with a heart that is still learning to breathe freely. Help me trust again in the quiet places, in the details I do not control, in the relationships I want to guard, in the dreams that feel too risky to voice out loud. Teach me not to shrink my prayers for fear of disappointment. Teach me not to withhold my joy because I am bracing for the loss. Teach me not to prepare for worst-case scenarios more than I prepare for your goodness. Let my imagination not be filled with fear of what might go wrong, but with wonder at what you might do. Lord, rebuild in me a heart that trusts even when the evidence is not yet visible, that believes you are working even in silence, that holds onto your word even when circumstances seem to contradict it. I know now that trust is not a feeling, it is a choice, and I want to choose it again and again, even when it shakes, even when it stretches me. Not because I am pretending it is easy, but because I know you are worth it. I want to trust you with timing, even when I feel behind. I want to trust you with outcomes, even when the results look uncertain. I want to trust you with healing, even when the process feels longer than expected. I want to trust you with provision, even when my hands feel empty. And I want to trust you with my heart, not just the part that worships, but the part that aches and wonders and waits. Help me stop performing trust and start practicing it. Let it show up in my tone, my decisions, my rest. Let it be evident in how I speak to myself, how I treat others, how I step into opportunities. Trust does not always look loud. Sometimes it looks like peace in a hallway, quiet expectation in a delay, steady movement in a fog. I want that kind of trust, the kind that does not demand to see but dares to stay anyway. God, I also ask for healing from misplaced trust, the times I leaned on people to give me what only you could. The seasons I made outcomes my identity. The situations where I blamed you for what was never your doing. I surrender the confusion of the past, and I ask you to sort through the clutter of expectations I never meant to carry. Teach me what it means to place my weight on you, not on what you do for me, but on who you are to me. And Lord, I do not want to confuse trust with control. Control exhausts. Trust releases. Control carries everything alone. Trust invites you to carry it with me. Control fears interruption. Trust knows interruptions can become invitations. So even now, In the areas where I am still tempted to grip tightly, I open my hands again. You are not trying to take something from me. You are inviting me to make room for something more. Let my heart return to the place it began with childlike faith. Not naive, not blind, but simple, sincere, rooted in love. Let me not complicate trust with theology or analysis. Let me just believe again. Believe you are good. Believe you are near. Believe you are for me. Believe you are with me, even in this, even in the questions I still carry. Teach me to stop bracing for bad and start expecting your presence. Father, if my trust has grown tired, I ask you to strengthen it. If it has grown small, I ask you to expand it. If it has grown quiet, I ask you to awaken it. Let this be the season where trust becomes not just what I reach for in desperation, but what I stand on daily. Let it become my posture, my language, my rhythm. Trust that sings before the answer. Trust that waits without panic. Trust that keeps walking even without a map. You have not called me to understand everything. You have called me to walk with you. And if I have you, I do not need all the answers to move forward. So I trust you again, with eyes open, with heart open, with hands ready to receive and to release. You are my safe place, and in you, trust is not weakness. It is worship. It is love turned toward you, again and again. No matter what yesterday looked like, I choose that kind of love today. I choose you. Father, as trust begins to take root again within me, I notice how closely it is tied to another struggle I have carried for a long time. I have learned how to manage, how to plan, how to hold everything together when uncertainty feels threatening. Control has often felt like protection. It made me feel responsible, prepared, and less vulnerable to disappointment. Yet now, in your presence, I can see how heavy that posture has become. What once felt like strength has slowly turned into strain. I confess that I have tried to control outcomes instead of surrendering them. I have rehearsed conversations that have not happened, prepared for losses that never came, and exhausted myself trying to anticipate every possible turn. I told myself this was wisdom, but deep inside it was fear wearing a disciplined mask. Fear of being caught off guard, fear of needing help, fear of trusting too much and being hurt again. I carried the illusion that if I stayed alert enough, nothing could undo me. But Lord, I am tired, not just physically, but inwardly tired. Tired of gripping situations that were never meant to be held so tightly. Tired of carrying responsibility that belongs to you. Tired of measuring my worth by how well I manage what feels unmanageable. I bring this exhaustion to you without shame. I am ready to learn a different way of being strong. Help me understand that surrender is not collapse. It is alignment. It is not giving up responsibility, but giving up the false belief that everything depends on me. I release the pressure to fix what I cannot heal, to force what cannot be rushed, and to predict what cannot be known. Teach me the difference between faithful effort and anxious striving. I want to work with peace, not from panic. God, I recognize how control has shaped my emotions. When things go according to plan, I feel safe. When they do not, I feel threatened. My peace has been fragile because it was tied to circumstances, staying predictable. I want a deeper peace than that. I want the kind that stays steady even when plans shift, when timelines change, when answers delay. I want peace that rests in you, not in my ability to manage life. There are areas where I still tighten my grip, decisions I revisit repeatedly, people I try to protect myself from by keeping emotional distance, futures I outline in detail so I do not have to face uncertainty. I lay these areas before you now, one by one. I loosen my hold, not because I am careless, but because I trust that you are attentive. You see what I cannot. You know what I do not. You are already present in the moments I worry about reaching. Father, help me surrender without feeling like I am losing myself. I am afraid sometimes that if I stop controlling, everything will unravel. But you are not a God of chaos. You are a God of order, of intention, of care. When I release control to you, I am not stepping into disorder. I am stepping into guidance. I am not abandoning responsibility. I am returning it to its rightful place. Teach me how to rest while remaining engaged. Let me show up fully without carrying everything alone. Let me plan without obsessing. Let me care without clinging. Let me lead without forcing. I want my strength to come from trust, not tension. I want my confidence to grow from obedience, not from control. I want my actions to be rooted in clarity, not fear of losing grip. Lord, I also release the need to control how others see me, the image I try to maintain, the approval I quietly chase, the way I adjust myself to avoid conflict or rejection. That, too, is a form of control. It keeps me performing instead of living freely. I let go of that burden. I do not need to manage perceptions when you know my heart. I do not need to shape every response when you are my defender. As I breathe into this release, I ask you to meet me with reassurance. Let me feel the safety of being held rather than holding. Let me experience the relief of trusting your timing, your process, your care. Remind me gently when I start to take everything back. Redirect me without harshness. Teach me patience with myself as I learn this new posture. God, surrender feels unfamiliar because I have lived long in vigilance. But I am learning that vigilance drains, while trust restores. I am learning that control isolates, while surrender connects. I am learning that strength is not measured by how tightly I hold on, but by how confidently I can let go. I want that confidence to grow in me. So today, as this day unfolds, I place my plans in your hands. I place my expectations in your care. I place my uncertainties under your guidance. I will still show up. I will still act, but I will do so with an open hand and a settled heart. I will remind myself that you are working even when I do not see it. I will choose trust over tension, surrender over strain, and faith over fear. Teach me to live lighter, not because I avoid responsibility, but because I no longer carry what was never meant to be mine. Let surrender become my strength. Let trust become my rest. Let this release open space for peace to settle deeply within me as I continue walking forward with you. Father, As I continue in this still and sacred space with you, I sense how deep this surrender reaches. It is not just about loosening my grip on control, it is about recognizing what that control was protecting. Beneath my striving, beneath my need to plan and hold everything in place, there are tender places I have tried to shield from further pain. Places that still flinch when touched, even gently. Places where memory and emotion live side by side, quietly influencing how I love, how I hope, how I pray. God, I bring you those places now, not because I fully understand them, not because I know how to fix them, but because I trust you enough to uncover them. I want to heal, not just function. I want to be whole, not just appear okay. There are parts of my heart that have learned to brace reflexes formed by past injury, moments when I was hurt, unseen, unheard, or left alone. Even now, when something reminds me of those moments, my body remembers, my heart tightens, my tone sharpens. I pull back not because I want to, because I have been taught that pain can come without warning. But you are not like those moments, Lord. You are not the disappointment. You are not the abandonment. You are not the silence. You are the one who stayed, even when others did not. You are the one who listened, even when no one else noticed. You are the one who held me, even when I could not admit how much I needed to be held. So today I ask you, meet me in the places that still ache, not with answers, but with presence, not with pressure, but with healing. I name what I have tried to ignore. The betrayal that left more than just broken trust. It left questions about my worth. The loss that did more than take something away. It cracked the lens through which I now view joy. The criticism that shaped how I see myself in every mirror and every conversation. These things did not just happen and disappear. They stayed. They built narratives. They created patterns, but they do not have to define me anymore. Lord, teach me how to heal, not hide. I have spent years organizing my life around pain, avoiding what feels familiar to past harm, expecting rejection before it happens, preparing to be let down so the fall won't be so steep. But that is not living freely. That is not what you died to give me. I want to live from a healed heart, not a guarded one. I want to love fully, not carefully. I want to dream again without waiting for the disappointment that might follow. I know that healing is not always instant. Sometimes it comes in waves. Sometimes it comes in tears I did not know were still inside me. Sometimes it comes through conversation, through silence, through worship, through rest. However you choose to bring it, I welcome it. Even if it feels uncomfortable at first, even if it stirs up old memories, even if I cry over things I thought were buried. I trust you with every layer, with every scar, with every wound still open. And Father, I ask you to touch the parts of me that have stayed numb for too long. The emotions I shut down because they were too much to carry. The desires I buried because they hurt too much to hold. The dreams I abandoned because they reminded me of what never came to pass. Bring movement where I have felt stuck. Bring tenderness where I became hard. Bring light into rooms of my heart that I have kept dimmed for safety. I pray now for restoration, not just relief. I do not want you to simply take the sting away. I want you to rewrite the story. I want you to plant something new in the soil where pain once ruled. I want you to redeem the time I have lost hiding or reacting. Take what the enemy meant to silence and turn it into a voice that testifies of your mercy. Turn what once paralyzed me into compassion for others who are still walking through their own valleys. Father, I also pray for my body because healing is not just in the spirit. It is in the nervous system that flares when triggers appear. It is in the tension in my chest, the weight in my stomach, the tightness in my jaw. You made me whole not in parts, but as one being. So I ask you to calm the places inside me that still live in alert. Reset the patterns shaped by years of bracing. Let my body begin to trust again that it is safe, not because life is perfect, but because I am held by you. I release the belief that I have to earn my healing, that I have to have the right words, the right steps, or the perfect attitude. I release the guilt that says I should be over this by now. Healing is not a straight line. It is not measured in how quickly I smile or how well I mask. It is a journey, and you are not rushed. You are patient. You are kind. You walk with me, not ahead of me, not behind me, but right here, beside me. God, for every trigger I have not yet understood, I ask for grace. For every time I overreacted and did not know why, I ask for compassion. For every time I pulled away from people who loved me, I ask for the chance to try again. For every relationship strained by wounds I could not explain, I ask for healing, and where needed, for reconciliation. Let my healing bring peace not only to me, but to the spaces I move in and the people I encounter. Help me speak gently to myself as I heal, to not rush progress, to not measure growth by how loud or visible it is. Let me celebrate the soft victories, the quiet moments, when I chose presence instead of hiding, when I felt a hard thing and did not run, when I opened my heart even a little more than I did yesterday. Those moments matter, and you see them, you celebrate them. So I ask you now to continue this work. I open my heart fully, not just the beautiful parts, but the bruised ones, not just the confident words, but the ones that tremble, not just the open doors, but the locked ones too. I am not afraid to be seen by you. You see through, not past. You see the wound, and you bring the medicine. You see the ache, and you bring comfort. You see the fear, and you draw near. Let this be the morning where healing goes deeper, where trust becomes a balm, where surrender becomes rest, where grief meets grace, where old stories begin to lose their grip, and new beginnings quietly take shape. Let the places that used to flinch learn how to stay open. Let what once triggered pain now trigger praise. Let what once felt broken now become a testimony that healing is real, and that it is happening. Even here, even now, even in me. Father, as I continue this journey with you, I feel how each layer you uncover leads into the next. Healing the wounds is holy, but now I come face to face with something even more difficult to release than pain offense. There are people I have forgiven in word, but not in the deep places of my heart. There are moments I still revisit, not to heal but to remember how deeply they hurt, and I realize now, Lord, that I have been holding on to pieces of anger, betrayal, and disappointment, not because I want to be bitter, but because forgiveness felt like letting them off too easily. But you are showing me a different way. You are whispering to me that forgiveness is not about denying what happened. It is not about pretending I was not hurt or saying it was all okay. Forgiveness is about freeing myself from the weight that I have carried far too long. It is about removing the power those moments still hold over my peace. It is about choosing release over revenge, surrender over resentment, freedom over the false protection of anger. God, you know what was done to me. You were there when it happened. You saw what I kept hidden. You heard the words that wounded. You watched the doors that closed, the hands that should have held me but did not, the trust that was broken without apology. You saw me pick up the pieces and walk forward without answers, carrying silent aches and unanswered questions. I do not need to explain the pain to you. You already know. And still, you call me into freedom. Not because they deserve it, but because you never designed me to be a prisoner of pain. So here I am, Lord, honest and open. I bring before you every person whose actions left a mark on my spirit. The ones who never said sorry. The ones who did, but not from a place of truth. The ones who were supposed to protect me and did not. The ones I loved deeply who did not know how to love me back. The ones I have tried to forget, but still remember with a sting. I speak their names in my heart not to curse them, but to release them. I confess that some of the hardest people to forgive are the ones closest to me. The ones who knew better, the ones I let into sacred spaces. The ones who stayed silent when I needed them to speak. But holding on has not protected me. It has only hardened me. And I do not want to live from a bitter place. I want to be soft again. I want to feel peace again. I want to love without suspicion, without waiting for the next wound. So I choose forgiveness not as a moment of forgetting, but as a step toward freedom. Father, help me separate the pain from the person. Show me how to release them without releasing truth. Remind me that forgiveness is not trust. It is not reconciliation unless you rebuild it. It is not pretending like nothing happened. It is simply choosing to no longer carry what poisons my soul. It is putting them in your hands, not my judgment. It is believing that you are just and you see everything, that you hold them accountable in ways that I never could. And God, if I am honest, some's the person I struggle most to forgive is myself. For the choices I made when I did not know better, for the times I stayed too long, for the words I said in anger, for the boundaries I did not set, for the love I gave when I had nothing left. I carry blame for not healing sooner, for not walking away earlier, for not protecting my own heart. But you are reminding me that condemnation is not my portion, that shame is not my teacher, that regret is not the final word. So today I extend to myself what I am learning to extend to others. Grace. I lay down the inner voice that punishes. I silence the thoughts that replay mistakes. I choose to believe that who I was then is not who I am now. That growth happened in the cracks. That beauty is still rising from the places I thought were buried under bad choices. I receive your mercy. I accept your love not just for the healed parts of me, but for the parts still learning how to let go. Lord, teach me to walk in the fruit of forgiveness. Let it show up in my posture, in the way I speak about the past, in the way I pray for those who hurt me, not with bitterness, wrapped in polite words, but with a heart that truly wants release. Let my healing not be performative but lived. Let it show in how I love again, how I trust again, how I set boundaries without fear, how I speak truth without cruelty. And if there are places where I still resist letting go, be patient with me. Father, keep drawing me close. Keep showing me the cost of carrying what you never asked me to hold. Keep whispering that my peace matters more than my pride, that my destiny is worth more than the need to be right, that my healing cannot wait for someone else's apology. I release the need to replay the conversation. I release the need to prove the details. I release the anger I rehearsed, the justice I demanded in silence, the outcome I hoped would show I was right. I release the emotional hooks that keep me tied to pain. And in their place, I receive something better. I receive peace. I receive freedom. I receive space to grow beyond what happened. I receive the right to move forward with joy that does not look back with regret. Father, I will not carry resentment into another day. I will not let old wounds shape new relationships. I will not allow bitterness to cloud my hope or harden my heart. I will not let what they did define what I believe you can still do. I choose forgiveness not just because it sets them free, but because it sets me free. I choose it again today. I will choose it tomorrow if I must, because freedom is worth repeating. Healing is worth the discipline of release. And in this sacred space, I trust that you are doing what only you can. You are unraveling the knots I cannot untangle on my own. You are softening what I cannot reach. You are guarding my heart while it opens again. You are walking with me, teaching me how to live unchained, not because pain never touched me, but because love has the final word, because mercy changes the story, because forgiveness is not the end of healing, it is the door into it. And I am ready to walk through. Father, as I rest in the place where forgiveness has begun its deep and sacred work, I feel another invitation rising from within. Now that I have started to release those who hurt me, and even begun to forgive myself, I can sense the gentle stirring of something long buried beneath all the pain and performance. It is my name, not the name others gave me in judgment, not the labels I accepted when I was low, but the name you first spoke over me when you formed me. I want that name back. I want to reclaim who I am. Because God, somewhere along the way, I started living from what happened instead of who you made me to be. Shame crept in like a slow fog and wrapped itself around my identity. It told me that I was too broken to be loved fully, too flawed to be trusted deeply, too damaged to be used for anything meaningful. Shame did not come all at once. It came in pieces. A comment here, a mistake there, a silence I misunderstood, a wound I never unpacked. Over time, I stopped seeing myself through your eyes and started seeing myself through my failures. But I do not want to live from that story anymore. I do not want to keep wearing names that you never gave me. I do not want to shape my expectations by old experiences that distorted how I see myself. Today, I bring to you every label that shame has written across my soul, every word I internalized, every accusation I believed, every comparison that left me feeling small. I lay them at your feet, not just as memories, but as identities I no longer want to carry. Lord, I know now that shame is not just a feeling. It is a voice that speaks in the background of my decisions, that interrupts joy with doubt, that tells me not to get too comfortable, not to hope too big, not to expect too much. It is a voice that tries to blend in with humility, but it only teaches me how to shrink. I silence that voice now, not in my own strength, but in the authority of your truth. I declare that I am not what I regret. I am not what I lost. I am not what they said when they did not understand my worth. I am yours. And that means something. It means I am not defined by seasons of weakness. It means I am not stuck in a moment of failure. It means I am not too late, too much, too little, or too far gone. It means I am covered in mercy, wrapped in grace, filled with promise. It means I carry the imprint of heaven in my spirit and the signature of my Creator on every part of who I am. Let that truth take root where shame once planted lies. God, restore to me the boldness I lost when I started second-guessing myself. Give me back the courage to show up fully, even if I have stumbled before. Let me speak with confidence again, not arrogance, but the kind of confidence that comes from knowing I am loved without conditions. The kind that remembers I am not performing for acceptance. I am living from it. Help me to stop apologizing for existing, to stop diluting my light so others can stay comfortable in their shadows, to stop editing my voice because I think I need to sound perfect before I speak. You never required perfection. You only ever asked for honesty. And honestly, I want to live free from shame-based decisions, free from roles I took on just to feel valuable, free from the inner critic that always finds something wrong. Father, I ask you to rewrite the narrative of my identity. Where shame said I was too broken, you say I am becoming. Where shame said I missed my chance, you say your mercies are new every morning. Where shame said I should hide, you call me out of hiding with tenderness. You restore what was buried beneath fear. You uncover the beauty I forgot to look for. You celebrate the parts of me that I was taught to hide. I open my heart to your voice again, the one that knows me deeper than I know myself, the one that calls me by name, not by what I have done, not by who I have disappointed, but by who you created me to be. Let that name rise within me. Let it be louder than the past. Let it outshine every lie. Let it shape how I walk into rooms, how I show up in love, how I look in the mirror and speak over my life. And Lord, if I ever forget again, because I know there will be days when the old voices try to return, remind me when I wake up feeling small. Remind me when I compare myself to someone else's highlight reel. Remind me when I feel like I have to prove something to be enough. Whisper to me then, as you do now, that I was never created to perform for love. I was made from love, and I was made to carry it into the world. Let the weight of shame fall away from my shoulders. Let the need to explain myself all the time fade into silence. Let the old questions lose their power. Am I enough? Am I worthy? Am I lovable? I already have the answer in you. Yes, yes, yes. I do not need another voice to confirm what you have already declared. I simply need to remember. So I walk today not trying to earn my place, but reclaiming it. Not trying to fix what has already been forgiven. Not trying to cover what you have already clothed in righteousness. I walk with my head lifted not in pride, but in redemption. I walk knowing I have nothing to hide and everything to live for. I walk knowing that shame is not my companion anymore. Grace is, and grace walks with me into every space I enter. Let your truth be louder than memory. Let your love be deeper than fear. Let your mercy undo what shame has built. Let every part of who I am come into agreement with who you say I am, not just in thought, but in posture, in tone, in decisions, in dreams. I will no longer live like I am still in chains when you already opened the prison door. I will no longer carry the burden of a name that does not belong to me. You have given me a new name. You have called me yours, and I choose to believe it fully, here, now, with nothing held back. Father, as I step forward carrying the truth of who I am in you, I begin to sense a new posture forming within me, no longer bent by shame, no longer shrinking back in uncertainty. I feel invited to stand, not in my own strength, not with loud confidence, but with a quiet awareness of what you have already placed inside me. Identity restored now leads me into authority, not authority that dominates, but authority that is grounded, steady, and aligned with your heart. Lord, for a long time I misunderstood authority. I thought it belonged only to the strong, the fearless, the ones who never doubted. I believed I had to earn it through perfection or lose it through failure. But now I see that authority flows from relationship, not performance. It comes from knowing where I stand with you. And today, I choose to stand where you have placed me, not beneath fear, not beneath circumstances, not beneath old voices, but in the truth of your presence with me. I recognize that there are forces that try to challenge my peace each day, thoughts that seek to overwhelm, emotions that attempt to pull me back into old reactions, situations that test my patience, my boundaries, my resolve. I do not deny their presence, but I also refuse to give them control. I do not have to submit to every thought that enters my mind. I do not have to obey every emotion that rises within me. I do not have to react the way I once did. You have given me authority to choose differently. God, help me exercise this authority with wisdom, not with arrogance, not with harshness, but with clarity. Let me recognize when something is trying to rule my inner world without permission. Let me notice when fear tries to dictate my decisions, when anxiety tries to set the pace of my day, when discouragement tries to silence my voice. In those moments, remind me that I am not powerless. I am not at the mercy of every internal storm. I can stand firm, anchored in truth, responding instead of reacting. I ask you to strengthen my discernment. Teach me to identify what aligns with your spirit and what does not. Help me recognize the difference between conviction and condemnation, between caution and fear, between humility and self-rejection. Authority begins with clarity, and I want to see clearly. I want to know when to speak and when to remain quiet, when to move forward and when to wait, when to resist and when to rest. Father, I also acknowledge that authority requires responsibility. I cannot ask you to guard my mind if I continually invite chaos into it. I cannot ask you to protect my peace if I refuse to set healthy boundaries. I cannot ask you to lead my steps if I insist on walking paths you never asked me to take. So today, I align my choices with the authority you have entrusted to me. I take responsibility for what I allow to shape my inner life. I speak now against the patterns that once ruled me, against confusion that clouded my thinking, against intimidation that made me doubt my voice, against guilt that kept me stuck in the past. These no longer have permission to lead me. They no longer define my direction. I do not deny that they may try to return, but I refuse to give them power. I choose truth. I choose peace. I choose obedience. Lord, let my authority be expressed through love. Let it show in patience instead of pressure, in confidence instead of control, in courage that does not need to prove itself. Teach me how to lead my own heart well, how to speak life over myself when negativity tries to take root, how to respond to challenges with steadiness rather than panic, how to walk into today knowing that you have already gone before me. I pray that my words today would carry weight not because they are loud, but because they are aligned. Let my yes mean yes, and my no mean no. Let my commitments be grounded. Let my boundaries be clear. Let my presence bring calm rather than tension. Authority rooted in you does not create fear. It creates order. It creates safety. It creates space for growth. God, I also lift up the environments I will step into today. My work, my home, my conversations. I ask that the authority you have given me would shape those spaces, that peace would follow my steps, that wisdom would guide my choices, that compassion would temper my responses. I do not need to control others to walk in authority. I simply need to remain aligned with you. When challenges arise, remind me that I am not starting from a place of defeat. I am standing from a place of victory already given. When opposition appears, remind me that I am not alone. You are with me. Your spirit strengthens me. Your truth steadies me. I do not need to fight every battle. Some battles are won by standing firm and refusing to be moved. Father, let this authority grow in me through practice, not pressure. Let it become a habit, not a performance. Teach me to recognize when I am tempted to shrink back into old patterns, and gently guide me back into alignment. I do not want to use authority selectively. I want to live from it consistently, not only when things feel overwhelming, but in the ordinary moments that shape my life. As I continue this day, I receive the authority you have given not as a burden, but as a gift. I will walk with awareness. I will speak with intention. I will choose with clarity. I will remain anchored even when things around me shift. I do not stand on my emotions. I do not stand on circumstances. I stand in you. And from that place, I move forward with confidence that is quiet, steady, and unshakable. Father, as I continue walking in the authority you have given me, I become aware of something else that needs your gentle attention. Even when my mind understands truth, my body sometimes still reacts as if danger is near. My thoughts may choose faith, yet my breathing grows shallow. My heart may trust you, yet my shoulders remain tense. I realize now that peace is not only a spiritual concept. It is something my whole being must learn to receive. Lord, I bring you the anxiety that settles into my body without permission, the tightness in my chest that appears before I know why, the restlessness that keeps me alert when there is no real threat, the constant readiness to respond, to defend, to brace for what might go wrong. I have lived in this state longer than I realized. It became familiar, but I do not want to live governed by unease. I want to live governed by peace. God, I ask you to speak calm into the places where my nervous system has learned to stay on guard. I ask you to quiet the internal alarms that sound even when I am safe. Let my breath slow. Let my muscles release. Let my heartbeat settle into a steady rhythm that reflects trust rather than urgency. Teach my body what my spirit is learning, that I am not in danger, that I am held, that I am not alone. I acknowledge that anxiety once served a purpose. It helped me survive seasons that felt overwhelming. It kept me alert when I felt powerless. But that season has passed, and I do not need to live as if I am still there. So today, I thank anxiety for what it once did, and I release it from what it no longer needs to do. I give you permission, Lord, to retrain my responses, to teach me how to rest without fear, to help me feel safe without control. Father, I notice how often my thoughts race ahead of the present moment. I worry about conversations that have not happened. I replay words I wish I had said differently. I imagine outcomes that steal my peace before they even exist. I bring those thoughts back to you now. I choose to be present. I choose to anchor myself in this moment, where you are already with me, where grace is sufficient, where I have enough for today. God, I ask you to replace the habit of overthinking with the practice of awareness. Help me notice when my mind begins to spiral, and gently guide me back. Let me recognize when I am living in tomorrow's worries instead of today's strength. Teach me how to interrupt anxious patterns with truth, with breath, with stillness. Let peace become my reflex, not panic. I pray for calm in my emotions as well. There are days when feelings rise quickly and intensely, and I struggle to steady them. I ask you to help me respond rather than react, to pause before speaking, to listen before assuming, to remain grounded even when emotions feel strong. Emotional regulation is not suppression. It is alignment. And I want my emotions to align with your peace. Lord, let your peace settle deeper than surface calm. Not the kind that depends on everything going right, but the kind that remains even when something feels uncertain. Let it be a peace that does not rush me, does not pressure me, does not demand immediate answers. Let it be the kind of peace that allows me to move slowly, to think clearly, to choose wisely. I ask you to touch the physical expressions of anxiety within me. The headaches that come from tension, the fatigue that follows constant alertness, the disrupted sleep that keeps my body from restoring itself fully. I invite your healing into these areas. Restore balance. Restore rest. Restore the natural rhythms you designed within me. Let my nights be restorative and my mornings be steady. Father, I also pray for peace in the spaces I will enter today, in conversations that might feel challenging, in environments that may feel demanding, in moments where pressure could easily rise. Let me carry calm with me. Let my presence bring steadiness rather than stress. Let my tone reflect gentleness rather than urgency. I do not need to absorb the anxiety around me. I can remain centered in you, God. When unexpected things happen, remind me to return to my breath, to my awareness of you, to the truth that you are present even then. Let me practice coming back to peace again and again. Without frustration, without judgment. This is not failure. It is learning. And you are patient with me as I learn. I choose today to trust that peace is not something I must force. It is something I receive. I open myself to it now. I allow it to flow through my thoughts, my emotions, and my body. I release the need to stay tense, to stay safe. I release the belief that rest is irresponsible. I embrace the truth that peace is strength. As this day continues, I will return to this place when I need to. I will pause when my body signals distress. I will breathe deeply and remind myself that I am secure. I will let your peace guard my inner world, not as a distant idea, but as a living presence within me. I receive that peace now, and I allow it to remain steady and quiet, guiding me through whatever this day may bring. Father, now that your peace has begun to settle over my body and still the rhythms of anxiety, I find myself in a sacred pause between rest and movement. I am learning how to breathe again, how to stay grounded. But now comes the moment where I must move, not rush, not perform, not prove, but take one faithful step forward. And I confess, Lord, that this is where hesitation often returns. Even when peace is present, fear sometimes lingers at the threshold of action. God, I admit that I have waited too long in certain places, not because I lacked clarity, but because I lacked courage. I have delayed decisions that needed movement. I have second-guessed the nudges you placed within me. I have allowed fear to wrap itself in wisdom and convince me that waiting meant safety. But the truth is, I was not waiting on you. I was waiting for fear to disappear. And now I see that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move anyway. So today, I ask you to stir courage in me, not loud and dramatic, but deep and steady. Let it begin as a quiet whisper that I follow, one step at a time. Let it rise up like strength in my spine, in my voice, in my posture. Let it shape my day with small acts of obedience. I do not ask for the whole path to be revealed. I ask for the grace to trust you with the next right thing. Father, help me to see that courage looks different every day. Some days, it is getting out of bed when heaviness tries to keep me still. Other days, it is starting a conversation I have avoided, or saying no when I used to say yes just to keep the peace. Sometimes it is choosing to stay when everything in me wants to run. Other times, it is choosing to walk away from something that once made me feel needed, but no longer serves who I am becoming. Give me discernment for the kind of courage today requires. I bring you the fear of failure that has kept me frozen, the fear of disappointing others, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of stepping out only to fall. I have let these fears shape too many decisions. But I know that failing forward with you is better than standing still in fear without you. You do not expect perfection from me. You ask for faithfulness. So even if I tremble, I will step. Even if my voice shakes, I will speak. Even if my heart races, I will trust. Lord, I also bring you the fear of success of what might be required of me if things actually work out. The fear of visibility, the fear of responsibility, the fear of losing comfort. I see now that fear hides on both sides of the journey. But you are not calling me to carry the future all at once. You are simply asking me to show up fully in this moment and take the step you have already made room for. Show me what that step is today. Maybe it is sending the message I have put off. Maybe it is applying for the opportunity I convinced myself I am not ready for. Maybe it is beginning something new that does not make sense on paper, but keeps stirring in my spirit. Or maybe it is simply choosing not to retreat into an old pattern when discomfort arises. Whatever the step is, I do not want to miss it because I was waiting to feel completely fearless. God, remind me that bravery does not mean the absence of caution. It means I trust you more than I trust my fear. It means I place more weight on your faithfulness than on my feelings. It means I am willing to move while still feeling the tension. Because peace is not the absence of pressure, it is the presence of you. So I turn my eyes away from the size of what I cannot control and fix them on the one who walks with me through every unknown. Let courage rise in my habits too, in the daily rhythms that form who I am becoming. Help me show up for the work even when motivation is missing. Help me practice discipline without shame. Help me keep going when I am not sure it matters yet. Let me be faithful in the unseen, knowing that growth often begins in silence. In repetition, in choosing to keep moving when results have not shown up yet. Father, I want to be someone who does not just dream, but builds, who does not just wish, but acts, who does not just speak about freedom, but lives it. I know that freedom costs something. It costs comfort. It costs certainty. But it is always worth it. And I am learning that staying stuck has a cost to a cost I am no longer willing to pay. So I ask you to meet me in this movement. Be the wind beneath each step I take, and the hand I hold when I hesitate. Strengthen my knees when they feel weak. Steady my breath when fear returns. Whisper again what you have already said, that I am not alone, and that you go before me. I do not have to create the path. I only have to follow. And if I stumble, remind me that grace still holds me. That movement, even when imperfect, matters. That each step forward is a seed planted for the life you are growing within me. I will not despise the small starts. I will not wait for perfect timing to obey. I will not delay faith because I still feel afraid. I will walk now with open hands, with an anchored heart, with courage not made by me but given by you. Let this be the day I move. Lord, let this be the day I act on what I have been praying about. Let this be the day I stop rehearsing and start becoming. Not because I feel fearless, because I trust that you will meet me in every step. You do not ask me to be unshaken. You ask me to be willing. And here I am willing, even if afraid, even if unsure. Willing, because you are with me. Willing, because you are enough for what is ahead. Willing, because staying still no longer fits who I am becoming. Father, as I take these first steps with courage, I quickly realize that movement does not always bring immediate change. Some paths unfold slowly. Some answers take time, and in this space between action and outcome, my heart is invited into another kind of strength. I have learned how to move, but now I must learn how to wait without growing weary, how to remain hopeful without forcing results. This kind of patience has always been difficult for me, because waiting often feels like standing still when everything inside me wants progress. Lord, I confess that impatience has shaped many of my prayers. I wanted clarity quickly, healing instantly, breakthroughs on my timeline. When things did not happen the way I expected, I felt frustrated, overlooked, even discouraged. I mistook delay for denial. I assumed silence meant absence. But now, as I continue walking with you, I begin to understand that waiting is not wasted time. It is sacred ground where endurance is formed and trust is deepened. God, help me learn how to wait with intention, not anxiety. Teach me to see this season not as a pause in my life, but as part of the process you are using to shape me. I do not want to rush past what you are doing in me, just because I am eager for what you will do through me. Let patience grow where frustration once lived. Let perseverance replace the urge to quit when progress feels slow. I bring you the moments when waiting has tempted me to doubt, the days when I wondered if my prayers were heard, the nights when hope felt fragile and disappointment whispered that nothing was changing. I admit that in those moments, I have tried to take matters back into my own hands. I have pushed ahead before you led. I have settled for shortcuts because they felt easier than trusting your timing. But those choices never brought peace. They only added confusion. Father, I ask you now to anchor my hope deeper than circumstance. Let my confidence rest not in how fast things move, but in how faithfully you walk with me. Remind me that you are not slow. You are precise. You are not delayed. You are intentional. What feels like waiting to me may be preparation in your hands. What feels like stillness may be alignment happening beneath the surface. Teach me how to stay present while I wait, not constantly scanning the horizon for change, but noticing the grace you give for today. Let me appreciate small signs of growth instead of dismissing them, because they are not dramatic. Let me celebrate progress that is quiet, internal, and unseen. These moments matter. They are building something solid within me. Lord, Guard my heart from comparison during seasons of waiting. It is easy to look around and feel left behind when others seem to move faster or receive answers sooner. But you are not writing the same story for everyone. My timeline does not need to match theirs. My journey does not need to resemble another's for it to be meaningful. Help me trust that you know exactly where I am, and that you are not late in my life. I ask you to help me wait without losing tenderness. Waiting can harden the heart if disappointment accumulates unchecked. I do not want to become cynical or guarded. I do not want to lower my expectations just to avoid pain. Keep my heart open, even when answers take time. Let hope remain alive. Not naive, but resilient. Let it be a hope that can withstand delay without collapsing. Father, patience is not passive. It is active trust. It is choosing to remain faithful in what I know to do. Even when the outcome is unclear, it is continuing to pray, to love, to serve, to show up, even when I do not see immediate reward. Give me the grace to keep doing the right things quietly. Strengthen me to remain consistent without applause. Teach me to honor the process as much as the promise. I also ask you to heal the parts of me that equate waiting with failure. Where I have believed that if things take time, it must mean I am doing something wrong. Release me from that pressure. Growth is not instant. Healing is not rushed. Transformation unfolds layer by layer. And you are patient with me. Help me extend that same patience to myself. Lord, in the waiting, I choose to listen more closely, to refine my sensitivity to your voice, to allow you to adjust my expectations if needed. Sometimes what I am waiting for is not what you are preparing to give. Sometimes you are reshaping my desires so they align more closely with your will. I surrender my assumptions. I remain open to your direction. As I continue this day and the days ahead, I ask you to remind me often that waiting with you is never empty. You are working even when I cannot see it. You are arranging details I am not aware of. You are strengthening roots before growth becomes visible. I trust that nothing in this season is being wasted, not my prayers, not my obedience, not my endurance. So I choose patience today. Father, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. I choose to wait with expectation rather than frustration. I choose to remain hopeful without forcing outcomes. I choose to trust your timing without losing momentum. I will keep walking, even when the pace feels slow. I will keep believing, even when answers take time. I will keep showing up, knowing that you are faithful to complete what you have begun in me. Father, as I continue learning how to wait with patience and walk forward in faith, I begin to notice another layer of my journey that often shakes me. It is not just the waiting that challenges me, it is how much my emotions change within it. One moment I feel secure, steady, even joyful. And then suddenly, a small thing can tilt the balance, an unexpected word, a delay I did not plan for, a memory that surfaces. My emotions shift quickly, and sometimes I feel like I am carried by them more than anchored in truth. Lord, I thank you for giving me emotions. You made me to feel. You designed my heart to respond to beauty, to sorrow, to connection, to longing. Emotions are not wrong. They are part of what it means to be alive, human, and whole. But I also see how easily they can become unstable ground if I let them determine my direction. I do not want to silence my emotions, but I also do not want them to rule me. I want to learn how to feel deeply without being tossed by every wave. God, I bring you the full range of how I feel today. The joy that is present but fleeting. The anxiety that tries to creep back in without warning. The frustration I do not always express, but carry quietly. The ache that has no clear name. I lay them all before you. Not one is hidden from you. You see what triggers them. You know the deeper layers underneath each one. So I ask not for you to take them away, but to help me find you within them. Help me remember that my feelings are not always facts. They are real, but they are not always accurate in telling me the truth. I may feel forgotten, but that does not mean I am. I may feel unworthy, but you say I am chosen. I may feel overwhelmed, but you have already gone ahead of me. Teach me to let my emotions inform me, not define me. Let them point to something I need to bring to you, not something that drives me further from you. Father, sometimes I feel guilty just for having hard emotions, as if I should always be peaceful, always full of faith, always content. But you never asked for perfect emotional performance. You asked for honesty. And here I am honest about my sadness, about the frustration I sometimes try to push away, about the disappointment that occasionally resurfaces without warning. You are not surprised by any of it, and you are not intimidated by what I feel. Lord, when emotions rise unexpectedly, let me pause before I react. Let me step back before I spiral. Let me breathe before I speak. Let me look inward and upward before I draw conclusions. I do not want to give temporary emotions the power to create permanent consequences. I want to process them in your presence and move forward with clarity. Show me the patterns in my emotions. God, the places where my heart still overreacts to certain situations. The triggers that bring up old pain. The moments where small things feel too big. Help me not to shame myself for these patterns, but to become aware of them, to gently trace them to their root, and to let you meet me there with truth, with healing, with wisdom. Let your spirit be the anchor when my soul feels shaken, when I feel unsteady inside. Remind me that I do not have to figure it all out before I return to you. I can run to you in the middle of the feeling, not just after I have calmed down. You are not waiting for my balance. You are offering to be my balance. Father, I ask for emotional stability that does not come from pretending, but from grounding. Let it show up in how I speak to myself, in how I treat others when I am under pressure, in how I respond to stress, to change, to silence. Let there be a steadiness growing within me that others can feel not as perfection, but as peace. The kind of peace that still breathes even when the storm has not passed. When discouragement tries to settle, help me notice it early. Let me interrupt its lies before they become my internal narrative. Let me replace its voice with your truth. When anger flares, help me not bury it but bring it to you. Show me what lies underneath it, what wound still needs tending, what boundary needs protecting, what voice still needs to be heard when sadness lingers. Teach me not to rush past it. Let me sit with it, invite you into it, and listen for what it is trying to teach me. And God, when joy comes, let me hold it fully. Let me laugh without guilt. Let me feel hope without suspicion. Let me welcome lightness without waiting for the next shadow. Help me stop expecting every good thing to be followed by loss. Teach me that it is okay to enjoy what you have given without fear that it will be taken. Joy is not a setup for disappointment. It is a seed of gratitude. Let me plant it deeply. Lord, I want to grow emotionally, not just spiritually. I want to be someone who is present, resilient, and whole. Someone who knows how to name what they feel, invite you into it, and walk forward with truth as their compass. Someone who does not suppress their heart, but does not live enslaved to it either. Someone who loves deeply without losing themselves. Someone who trusts the inner shifts, but submits them to you for clarity. So I choose now to listen to what I feel, and to what you are saying through it. I give myself permission to be honest, and the courage to keep growing. I invite your spirit to help me navigate each moment without rushing or reacting. Let every emotion be an opportunity to come closer to you, to understand myself more fully, and to respond in ways that reflect who I truly am. As this day unfolds, and emotions inevitably rise and fall like the tides, let my soul remain anchored. Let your presence be the steady ground beneath shifting moods. Let my responses be shaped not by impulse, but by intention. I will not fear what I feel, and I will not let it rule me. I will feel deeply and live freely because you are with me, even in the emotional currents that once made me feel adrift. You are my anchor, and I am safe to feel, to grow, and to remain grounded in you. Father, now that you have taught me how to ride the tides of emotion without losing my footing, I begin to hear a quieter invitation rising beneath the noise of my thoughts. It is an invitation to be fully here, not just in body, but in mind and heart. Because even as I try to walk with awareness, I often find myself drifting. My body may be in one place, but my thoughts have wandered into a dozen futures or back into rooms I have already left behind. I carry the weight of tomorrow and the echo of yesterday, while missing the sacredness of now. God, I confess that presence has never come easily to me. My mind rushes ahead with to-do lists, what-ifs, and worst-case scenarios, or it loops back through conversations I wish I would handled better, seasons I still do not fully understand, or pain that continues to replay even without fresh cause. I keep missing what is in front of me because I am tangled up in what is not here. But you are not found in the imaginary disasters I rehearse. You are found in this breath, this heartbeat, this moment. Help me slow down long enough to live inside today, to feel the floor beneath my feet, to notice the way light falls through the window, to actually taste my coffee, not just drink it distractedly. Let me pause to hear my own breath, not just push through the hours on autopilot. Let me recognize the faces of the people around me, not just pass them by on my way to the next obligation. You are here, and I want to be 2. Lord, I surrender the need to constantly anticipate. I let go of the pressure to always be preparing, always be responding, always be adjusting for something that has not even happened yet. Anticipation often dresses itself like wisdom, but if I am honest, it is often just worry with better language. I do not want to be so busy rehearsing imaginary futures that I miss the very real peace you are offering me now. When I wake up, remind me that this morning matters, that it is not just a step toward what is next, but a moment worth honoring for what it is. Let me find purpose in the ordinary, holiness in the mundane. Let me clean my kitchen not just as a chore, but as a way to bring order and care into my space. Let me answer messages not just to check them off, but to connect with another soul in kindness. Let every act be an act of presence. Teach me how to work without obsessing, to give my best without gripping the outcome, to prepare without panic. I want to be diligent, but not desperate. Faithful, but not frantic. I want to be a person who does the next right thing without needing a 5-step guarantee about what comes after. You are the God of provision, not just for tomorrow, but for this very minute. And I want to live like I believe that. Father, ask you to retrain my thoughts when they wander, when I catch myself mid-sentence in my mind, already having an argument that may never happen. Bring me back when I feel myself drifting into the past, digging up old pain. Help me return, not by shame or force, but by gently recentering in truth. You are not in the haunting of yesterday or the illusions of someday. You are in the now. Let my relationships reflect this groundedness. Help me listen more fully instead of formulating replies before someone has even finished speaking. Let me give eye contact that says, I see you. Let me be present without checking my phone, without planning my response, without scanning the room for the next thing. I want to offer people more than my availability. I want to offer my attention. God, help me also be present with myself. There are parts of me I have ignored for years. Feelings I buried because I did not know what to do with them. Dreams I dismissed because I did not think I had the right to keep them. Needs I silenced because they did not seem convenient. Let me meet myself again with compassion. Let me sit with my own soul the way you sit with me, without pressure, without fixing, without rushing. I want to return to this moment again and again. Like breath, let presence become my rhythm, not a rare occasion. Let stillness become my anchor, not just a crisis response. I do not want to need a breakdown in order to remember how to pause. Let peace be my first language, not my emergency plan. Teach me to abide here, to remain open here, to plant roots here even if it feels vulnerable, even if it feels slow. Father, I know presence does not always feel productive, but you are showing me it is the most powerful way to live, because it is here that I hear you clearest. It is here that I access joy. It is here that I recognize the gift of being alive. Not once I finish the project, not once I have healed all the wounds, not once life is finally organized. Right here, right now. And if this moment holds pain, I will not run from it. I will breathe through it. I will let it teach me. Shape me. Soften me. I will not distract myself into numbness or busy myself into detachment. I will let your presence hold me through what I cannot fix. Let me learn to stay in discomfort just long enough for transformation to take place. Presence is not about comfort. It is about connection. And I want to be connected to you more than I want to be comfortable. So as this day stretches before me, I take it 1 hour at a time, one task at a time, one breath at a time. I will not rush through the sacred. I will not hurry past the healing. I will not postpone joy. I will be here fully, openly, honestly, because you are here, and where you are is where I want to be. Let my thoughts return like a compass to now, to this breath, to this holy ground beneath my feet. Let me live today, not just survive it. Let me meet you in it, not just reach for you from afar. And in doing so, let presence become my new posture of worship. Father, as I remain present in this moment, grounded where my feet are and attentive to your nearness, I sense you inviting me into another way of seeing. Presence has slowed my pace, and in that slowing, I begin to notice what I often overlooked before. There is goodness here. Not perfection, not ease, but goodness woven quietly through my ordinary day, and I realize how rarely I pause to acknowledge it. Gratitude has often been something I saved for special moments, not something I practice daily. God, I confess that I have sometimes treated gratitude like a reward for when life goes well, when prayers are answered the way I hoped, when circumstances feel stable, when joy is obvious and easy to name. But when things felt heavy or uncertain, I withheld gratitude, as if acknowledging anything good would minimize the pain I was carrying. Yet you are showing me that gratitude does not deny hardship. It coexists with it. It does not silence grief. It strengthens hope. So today, I choose gratitude not as a feeling I wait for, but as a discipline I practice. I choose to notice what is steady even when other things are shifting. I thank you for this breath that fills my lungs without effort, for the quiet strength that carried me through the night, for the fact that I am here, awake, still learning, still growing. These are not small things. They are evidence of your care. Father, I thank you for the ways you have sustained me even when I did not recognize it at the time, for the protection I never saw, for the redirections that frustrated me but ultimately spared me, for the strength that showed up on days I thought I had none left. Looking back, I can see your fingerprints in places I once thought were empty, and even now, I trust that you are at work in ways I cannot yet name. Help me cultivate a heart that gives thanks without waiting for everything to make sense. Let gratitude become my lens, not my conclusion. When I am tempted to focus only on what is missing, remind me to also see what remains. When I am disappointed by what has not happened yet, help me appreciate what is already present. Gratitude shifts my posture from lack to abundance, from complaint to awareness. Lord, I also bring you my resistance to gratitude. The part of me that feels ungratefulness protects me from being disappointed again. The voice that says if I do not expect much, I won't be hurt. But I see now that this posture has closed my eyes to joy. It has narrowed my vision. It has made me cautious in ways you never intended. I want to live open again, and gratitude is the doorway. Teach me to give thanks even in tension, not for the pain itself, but for the strength you are forming through it, not for the loss, but for the love that still surrounds me, not for the uncertainty, but for the clarity you are growing within me. Let my gratitude be honest, not forced. Let it rise from awareness, not obligation. Father, let gratitude soften my tone. Let it shape how I speak to others. When I am thankful, I am gentler. When I am grateful, I am less reactive. I want to be someone whose presence feels light because it is rooted in appreciation. Someone who sees goodness without ignoring reality. Someone who brings warmth into spaces by noticing what is often taken for granted. I thank you for the people in my life, those who walk closely with me, and even those who have come and gone. Each has shaped me in some way. I thank you for lessons learned through connection, and for wisdom gained through separation. I thank you for relationships that bring joy, and for boundaries that bring peace. Nothing has been wasted in your hands, God. I thank you for my body, imperfect as it is, for how it carries me through each day, for the signals it sends when it needs rest, for its ability to heal, to adapt, to endure. I choose to honor it with gratitude instead of criticism. I thank you for my mind, still learning to rest, still learning to focus, still learning to trust. I thank you for my heart, which has been wounded but not destroyed, softened but not broken. Help me make gratitude visible in my daily rhythms, in how I begin my mornings, in how I close my evenings, in how I approach tasks that feel mundane. Let me thank you not only for outcomes, but for opportunities, not only for answers, but for growth, not only for comfort, but for companionship. Father, I ask that gratitude would guard my heart against bitterness. When I practice thanksgiving, resentment loses its grip. When I acknowledge what is good, envy fades. When I name blessings, comparison weakens. Gratitude keeps me grounded in truth instead of trapped in scarcity. Let it become a shield around my spirit. And when I forget, because I know I will at times, gently remind me, bring my attention back without condemnation. Gratitude is not a performance. It is a return to seeing you clearly, a return to remembering that you are faithful, a return to recognizing that even on hard days, grace is present. So as this day unfolds, I will practice noticing. I will thank you for small mercies, for moments of quiet, for unexpected kindness, for strength that holds steady. I will let gratitude shape my perspective and anchor my joy, not because everything is perfect, but because you are good. And your goodness is enough to give thanks for today, and every day I continue walking with you. Father, as gratitude begins reshaping how I see the world, there is one more place in me still straining against surrender. Even when I am thankful, even when I am present, even when peace fills the air around me, a part of me still reaches for explanation, for closure, for reasons, for clarity that makes the path ahead feel safer. And yet I am beginning to realize, Lord, that the desire to understand everything is often what stands between me and real trust. God, I bring you this deep longing to make sense of it, all the whys I have carried like weights in my chest. Why certain doors stayed closed no matter how faithfully I knocked. Why some people left when I prayed they would stay. Why promises felt delayed and breakthroughs arrived through the back door instead of the one I stood watching. I have asked you these questions again and again, and while sometimes you answer, other times you are silent. Not absent, just silent. And that silence used to frighten me. I mistook it for distance. I felt alone inside the mystery. But you are teaching me that your silence is not punishment. Sometimes it is presence in a form I do not yet recognize. Sometimes it is an invitation into deeper faith. Sometimes it is how you hold my hand while teaching me to walk in the dark. So instead of demanding understanding, I ask for something better. Trust that does not depend on clarity. Lord, help me loosen my grip on certainty. I do not need all the details to take the next step. I do not need a guarantee to believe you are still good. Let faith grow stronger than the craving for logic. Let mystery become sacred, not threatening. Let unanswered questions turn my eyes to you, not inward to endless analysis, because sometimes what I need most is not an explanation, but an encounter. You never promised that I would understand everything, but you did promise you would be with me. You never said I would always see the purpose before the outcome, but you did say that all things would work together for good. And though I can always trace your hand, I can learn to trust your heart. That trust does not erase my questions. It simply teaches me how to carry them differently, no longer as burdens, but as bridges to deeper intimacy. God, I release the idol of needing to figure it all out. I lay down the pressure to always know why. I acknowledge that my mind is finite, and some things cannot be comprehended from here, but they can still be trusted, and I choose that trust now, not blindly, but courageously, because trust is not passive. It is the boldness to walk without demanding answers at every turn, when I feel tempted to replay events until they make sense. Remind me that understanding does not always equal peace. Peace often comes when I stop trying to control the narrative and start resting in the one who already knows the ending. Let me trade analysis for abiding. Let me replace speculation with surrender. Father, help me trust you with the things I may never fully understand. This side of eternity, the closed doors, the delayed answers, the deep losses, the prayers that seem to return void. I place them all in your hands again, not to be forgotten, but to be held in faith. I trust that you waste nothing, that even what confused me is being woven into something purposeful. Even what broke me is being transformed into something beautiful. And Lord, I also bring you the future, the parts I try to predict, the scenarios I mentally prepare for, the outcomes I obsess over. I do not want to live trying to outthink disappointment or pre-plan resilience. I want to live open to what you will do, even if it surprises me. I want to hold the future lightly and trust you completely. Help me embrace the truth that not everything is mine to know. There is freedom in that. Freedom to rest. Freedom to let you lead. Freedom to simply be without answers. Without perfect comprehension. Without a map. Teach me how to dwell in the present without dragging the weight of future worries or past confusion behind me. Let me walk by faith, not by sight. Not just when it is easy, but especially when it is not. Let me remember that understanding is not the foundation of faith relationship, and I trust the one I walk with more than I trust my own conclusions. You are not a puzzle to be solved. You are a father to be followed. And I am learning to follow with open hands and a surrendered heart. So in this moment, I breathe out my questions, not to discard them, but to release their hold on me. I make room for wonder, for trust, for the kind of peace that does not depend on having everything figured out. I choose rest. Even in the middle of the unknown, I choose to believe that you are not just God of the answers, but God in the silence, God in the mystery, God in the waiting. And that is enough for today. Father, now that I have released the need to understand everything, I find myself standing in a new kind of freedom. Not the freedom that comes from having everything figured out, but the kind that gently settles in when I realize that life is not a test I am constantly at risk of failing. That your presence is not earned by effort. That meaning is not something I have to manufacture every day. Still, Lord, there is a question that often lingers just beneath the surface. Am I doing enough? God, I bring you that quiet pressure I carry, sometimes loud, sometimes subtle, but almost always there. The pressure to make every moment count. The pressure to prove that I am valuable through my productivity. The pressure to have measurable results to show for my time, my energy, even my prayers. I confess that I often equate movement with purpose and achievement with worth. But you are showing me that purpose is not something I must chase. It is something I can walk in, slowly, freely, faithfully. Help me today to remember that purpose is not always a platform. It is often found in unseen faithfulness, in the way I show up to love people well, in the way I steward what I have already been given, in the words I choose, in the attitude I carry. Let me not overlook the holy in the ordinary. Let me not despise the small things that do not make headlines, but build something beautiful over time. Lord, teach me to separate ambition from assignment. There is nothing wrong with dreaming big, with moving forward, with planning for more. But let my desire for impact never drown out the simplicity of obedience. If today you call me to be still, then that stillness is purpose. If you invite me to listen instead of speak, then silence becomes sacred. If the task is hidden, then the hiddenness holds value because you are in it. Father, I surrender the urge to compare my purpose to others. I know it does not look the same for everyone. Some are called to build in public, others in private. Some are called to speak loudly, others to minister quietly. I want to be faithful in my lane, whether or not it is celebrated, whether or not it is noticed. Comparison robs me of the joy of partnership with you. Let me find delight again in my own unique rhythm. God, help me also see purpose in rest, in laughter, in stillness, in beauty. Not everything has to be utilitarian. Not everything must contribute to a greater mission to be meaningful. Sometimes purpose is simply pausing to be fully alive, to enjoy what you have made, to hold the moment gently and let it hold me back. I do not want to miss that because I am too busy trying to prove something you never asked of me. Show me how to work from rest, not for rest. Let productivity be a fruit, not a god. Let results be surrendered, not idolized. Let obedience be the aim, not applause. When I feel behind, help me remember that I am not running someone else's race. I am walking a path you designed uniquely for me, a pace that honors my limits, a purpose that unfolds naturally, not under pressure, but under grace. Lord, help me resist the lies that say, "You should be further by now. You are not doing enough. You have wasted too much time." I know now those voices do not come from you. You are never the voice of condemnation. You are the whisper of alignment, of invitation, of gentle reminders that I am not behind. I am just not in a hurry, and neither are you. Let me wake up each morning with a soft sense of direction, not the weight of obligation, but the pull of alignment. Let my to-do list be led by peace, not pressure. Let my calendar reflect my values, not my insecurities. Let my decisions stem from discernment, not desperation to feel accomplished. Father, when interruptions come, remind me that they are not always detours from purpose. They may be part of it. That person who needs a little extra time, that detour that delays my plan, that unexpected stillness when I hoped for movement. Let me find you in those moments. 2. Let purpose be flexible, not fragile. I ask you to help me be faithful with what is in front of me, not consumed by what I have yet to do, but present to what I have already been entrusted with. Let me invest well in the relationships near me. Let me steward my words with care. Let me carry peace into rooms that feel chaotic. Let me respond to needs without seeking recognition. These things matter. These things build the unseen foundation of a life aligned with you, God. I know purpose is not about perfection. It is about presence. Walking with you through this day, saying yes to what you put before me, saying no to what no longer fits, asking for help when I need it, celebrating progress without turning it into pressure. Let me carry this kind of freedom as I move through today. If I do nothing today but love well, I have walked in purpose. If I simply breathe and stay connected to you, I have not wasted time. Let me live with that kind of peace, the kind that does not need to rush, that does not need to prove, that does not measure worth by output, but by connection. So as I step into the tasks, the moments, and the conversations ahead, I will walk with open hands. I will walk with clarity, not control. I will walk with joy, not just duty. I will trust that today matters, not because of how much I can achieve, but because I get to walk it with you. Let that be enough. Let that be everything. Let that be purpose. Father, now that I am learning to live in purpose without pressure, I begin to notice something stirring again in my heart, something light, unexpected, and almost unfamiliar at times. It is joy, not the kind that explodes with celebration or demands attention, but a quiet joy, gentle like morning sunlight, waiting patiently to be noticed. And yet, even as it arrives, a part of me flinches, unsure whether I am allowed to fully receive it. That is why I come to you now, Lord, to unlearn the guilt I have attached to joy. God, I confess that somewhere along the way, I started believing joy had to be earned, that it was a reward for getting everything right, for crossing off every item on the list, for maintaining control. I told myself that if I did not feel strong enough, healed enough, accomplished enough, I had no right to delight in anything. But that is not how you give joy. Joy is not a trophy. It is a gift. It is not about perfection. It is about presence. And I want to receive it like a child, open-handed, unguarded, with wonder. Help me stop disqualifying myself from joy. Lord, when good moments come, I do not want to meet them with suspicion. I do not want to brace for them to disappear. I do not want to mute them with worries about the future. I want to learn how to stay inside them, to breathe them in, to laugh without apology, to feel glad without guilt. You did not create joy to be fragile or conditional. You created it to be sustaining, sacred, strong enough to hold even in sorrow. Father, show me that joy and grief are not enemies. I used to believe that in seasons of loss, I had to put joy on hold, that laughter was betrayal, that peace was pretending. But now I know that joy can walk beside sadness, that it is not naive, it is resilient. It is not a denial of pain, it is the defiant belief that light still lives in the middle of it. Help me carry both without shame. Thank you for every small joy you have tucked into today, the warmth of sunlight on my face, the rhythm of a favorite song, the way someone's voice softens when they speak with care. Let me notice these moments and let them shape my posture. Let joy not be an escape from my life, but an honest part of it, something I return to as often as I need, not because everything is easy, but because you are here. God, I ask you to remove the false narratives that say joy must be postponed until I deserve it, that I must be more spiritual, more disciplined, more whole. Those are lies, and I do not want to live under them anymore. I want to give myself permission to feel joy even in unfinished places, even while still healing, even while still learning. Let joy become my companion on the journey, not the destination I never quite reach. When joy visits, let me stay present. Let me protect it. Let me let it grow, not with fear, but with openness. If laughter rises, I will not silence it. If peace settles over me, I will not explain it away. If gladness stirs in my spirit, I will not minimize it. These are holy things. They are signs of your goodness. They are proof that my heart is still alive, still soft, still capable of lightness. Father, help me be someone who does not just carry joy, but multiplies it. Let me speak it into others with encouragement that lifts their weight. Let me create spaces where joy is safe, not suspicious. Let me be the kind of person who celebrates without competition, who rejoices in others' victories as fully as I hope they will rejoice in mine. Let joy in me overflow not just inward, but outward. Teach me how to weave joy into my days intentionally, through the way I move, the way I speak, the way I rest, the way I create. Let joy fill my thoughts when I wake, not just rush or anxiety. Let it linger through quiet afternoons and unexpected interruptions. Let it shape how I respond when plans shift. Let it return to me when I am weary. Let it be my strength. Lord, when I find myself resisting joy, because there is more important work to do, remind me that joy is part of the work. It keeps my heart from becoming dry. It refreshes what effort depletes. It protects the softness I need to remain compassionate. It reminds me that life is not only about surviving, it is about living fully with you. When I feel unworthy of joy, speak truth to that place in me. Tell me again that I am not required to be joyless to be holy. That suffering does not make me more spiritual than delight. That seriousness is not the only sign of faith. Let me trust joy as a reflection of you, not shallow, not indulgent, but sacred, restorative, deeply spiritual. And if joy feels far, if today is one of those days where the fog is thick and heaviness clings to my chest, help me remember that joy is not always loud. It sometimes whispers. It sometimes hides in the cracks. It sometimes takes the shape of breath, or quiet hope, or the will to try again. Let me not miss it just because it does not shout. Let me look closer. So as I walk through this day, I will choose to receive joy not because I have earned it, not because I am doing everything right, but because you are generous, because you delight in giving good gifts, because joy is not a distraction from the holy, it is part of it. It is not weakness, it is strength. It is not fleeting when rooted in you. Let joy rise in me now, pure, unforced, freely given. Let it settle over me like sunlight through open windows. Let it remind me that today is not only about doing it, it is about delighting. It is about noticing the goodness that is already here. It is about allowing beauty to reach me without resistance. It is about tasting grace and smiling at how sweet it is. Let me walk with that kind of joy, and let it carry me through whatever comes next. Father, as joy begins to reawaken in me, and I learn to receive it without guilt, I find another corner of my heart being stirred. Joy opens the door, but love is what walks in next. Not the kind of love I perform for approval or offer in exchange for certainty. The pure kind, the kind you have shown me from the beginning. And yet, even as I long to love deeply, there is still part of me that hesitates. Because love, as beautiful as it is, also carries risk. Lord, I bring you this fear of rejection that has shaped more of my relationships than I have realized. The fear that if I am too open, I will be misunderstood. If I am too honest, I will be judged. If I am too vulnerable, I will be left behind. And so, I have kept walls up, not to push people away, but to protect myself from the H of being unseen. But now I understand something deeper, that protection can become a prison. That self-preservation can rob me of the very connection I crave. Help me today, God, to love from a place of freedom, not fear, to show up fully without overanalyzing every word, every reaction, every silence. Let me give kindness without the hidden hope of getting something back. Let me offer affection without fear that it will be too much. Let me be generous in love without holding on to the illusion that I can control how others respond. Because love was never meant to be a transaction. It was meant to be a reflection of you. Father, teach me that rejection is not the end of love. That sometimes love will go unreturned, unreciprocated, unrecognized, and that does not mean it was wasted. Love that is pure leaves a mark, whether or not it is welcomed. It changes the giver even if it does not change the receiver. And if I am rooted in you, then my love is never in vain, because I am pouring from the source, not from my own scarcity. When I begin to withhold love to avoid disappointment, remind me of how you love me consistently, faithfully, without flinching at my failures. You never ration your affection. You never measure your kindness based on my performance. You love because you are love. And if I am to reflect you, then I must learn to love without needing guarantees. That does not mean being naive. It means being courageous. Lord, help me discern when fear is masquerading as wisdom, when I call it boundaries. But it is actually bitterness when I say I am being careful, but I am really being controlled by old wounds. Show me where I have built fences, where you are asking me to build bridges. Let my heart be soft again, not reckless, but open. Not careless, but unguarded in the right ways. Let me risk love again, not because it always ends the way I want, but because it always reflects who I am becoming. Father, I ask for the grace to forgive those who could not love me back, those who walked away when I stayed, those who hurt me when I was most open. I do not want to carry their absence into new places. I do not want to let old rejection create new hesitation. Heal those tender places in me where trust was fractured, where loyalty was met with silence, where love was misunderstood or manipulated. I release them to you not because I condone their choices, but because I choose freedom. And I also ask for the courage to receive love when it comes. I have become so used to being strong, to being self-reliant, to expecting disappointment, that sometimes I resist the very care I long for. Help me not to overthink when someone shows me grace. Help me not to question every compliment, dismiss every kindness, or shrink back when real connection offers to come close. Let me believe that I am worthy of being loved not just for what I offer, but simply for who I am. God, I want to love without keeping score, to be present without pretense, to show affection without apology, to build connection without needing control. Let love be what defines how I enter a room. Let it be what fills the spaces between my words. Let it be the language I speak even when no one else is speaking it back. When fear rises again, and I know it will remind me that I have survived rejection before, and I have grown through it, that rejection is not an identity, that love does not always equal loss. Let that reminder free me to risk again, to reach again, to trust again. Not because I know what will happen, but because I know who I am when I love well. I am whole. I am fully alive. I am most like you. Let my life be marked not by how protected I stayed, but by how freely I loved. Let it be said of me that I showed up fully, even when I did not know how it would be received, that I kept my heart soft in a world that often rewards hardness, that I chose love even when fear seemed safer, that I gave, not because it guaranteed return, but because it was always the right thing to do. So today, I choose to love again. I choose to smile first, to reach out without waiting to be asked, to speak kindness where it is needed, to embrace without holding back, to love like you do not for a reaction, but as a reflection of the love that keeps healing me. Let that be the legacy of this day. Let love be the risk I keep choosing. Let it be the story I write with my life, one unguarded moment at a time. Father, now that I have opened my heart to love without fear, I begin to feel a deeper stillness rising in me. Not passivity, not timidity, but quiet confidence, the kind that does not need to be loud or performative, the kind that does not rely on applause or comparison, the kind that holds steady when the world pushes and expectations press in. But God, I have to admit, confidence is a complicated place for me, because for so long, I have confused it with pride, and I have shrunk back, thinking humility meant hiding. Lord, I have believed that keeping my head down made me safe, that being soft-spoken meant I was spiritually grounded, that deflecting compliments somehow honored you. But now I see that humility is not denying who I am, and it is acknowledging who you are in me. And true confidence is not self-made. It is spirit-breathed. It is built not on my ability, but on your unchanging truth. So today, I ask you to help me walk in that truth with boldness. Let my posture reflect the fact that I am loved, chosen, equipped, and anointed not by merit, but by mercy. Let my voice carry weight not because I am trying to convince anyone, but because I am anchored in who I am. I do not need to overcompensate. I do not need to explain myself endlessly. I do not need to play small to make others feel comfortable. You did not design me to shrink. I was made to shine with grace. God, help me steward this confidence with purity. Let it never be a mask to hide insecurity. Let it never be used to dominate or diminish others. Let it never become a shield to avoid vulnerability. True confidence is not afraid to admit weakness. It is not afraid to say, I do not know. It is not afraid to be seen. It simply stands, steady, rooted, unshaken. When doubt whispers that I am not enough, remind me that I was never called to be enough by the world as standards. I was called to be faithful, to be obedient, to be honest, and in that, I am already more than enough because you are my sufficiency. I do not need to have it all figured out. I do not need to carry what was never mine. I just need to keep showing up present, whole, honest, and aligned. Father, show me the difference between being confident in you and being driven by ego. Help me recognize when I am chasing affirmation instead of standing in identity. Help me notice when I am trying to earn validation instead of resting in your love. Confidence rooted in you moves differently. It walks softly, but it does not apologize for being here. It serves with joy, not obligation. It lifts others, not because it is afraid of competition, but because it knows there is room for all of us to rise. Let that kind of confidence rise in me today. Let it show in how I carry myself, not with a need to prove anything, but with peace. Let it show in how I speak with clarity and kindness, without shrinking or overpowering. Let it shape how I make decisions, no longer second-guessing everything, but moving forward with a quiet sense of assurance that you are guiding me, even when the outcome is not certain. Lord, I also bring you the moments when I have let insecurity dress itself up as humility, when I have turned down opportunities because I did not believe I deserved them, when I have stayed silent in rooms where you placed me to speak, when I have kept my gifts hidden out of fear that using them would seem boastful. Teach me that hiding is not holy, that shrinking does not honor the giver of the gift. Help me walk in boldness, not because I trust myself more, but because I trust you fully. You do not make mistakes. You do not call people randomly. And if you have placed something in me, an idea, a passion, a vision, it is not for me to bury it in fear. It is mine to carry with reverence, with care, with gratitude, and yes, with confidence. Let this confidence also shape how I show up for others. Let me affirm without envy, celebrate without comparison, encourage without condescension. I do not have to tear anyone down to feel strong. I do not have to diminish anyone else's light to let mine shine. When I know who I am, I can help others rise too, and that is what I want. Lord, a confidence that builds, not breaks, that heals, not harms. Father, let me be a safe place for others who are rediscovering their voice. Let me speak life into those still trying to find their footing. Let me reflect the kind of confidence that says, you belong, you matter, you are enough. Keep going. I want to carry that posture in every room I enter, not as someone trying to impress, but as someone who knows who walks beside me. And when old insecurities try to creep back in, when I feel overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed, remind me that my value was never dependent on anyone's opinion. You see me, you know me, you called me. That is my foundation. That is what I return to again and again. When the noise gets loud, I am not who people say I am. I am who you say I am. So as I step into this day, I will not cower. I will not puff myself up either. I will walk level, eyes lifted, shoulders relaxed, heart open. I will not let fear shape my posture. I will let grace shape my voice. I will carry confidence like a quiet fire within me, steady, warm, and unshakable. Not because I have everything figured out, but because I know the one who does. And that is more than enough to keep moving forward with peace. Father, as I stand in this quiet confidence you have been forming in me, I notice how naturally my heart now looks ahead, not with certainty, not with a detailed map, but with a willingness to move forward. And yet, Lord, this is where uncertainty still lingers, because confidence does not erase questions. It simply gives me the courage to walk with them. Today I bring you the unease I feel about what I cannot yet see, the unanswered prayers, the doors that have not opened, the paths that remain undefined. God, I admit how deeply I want clarity. I want timelines. I want confirmation before commitment. I want reassurance before risk. But trust does not grow in conditions of full control. It grows in surrender, and so I come to you with open hands, acknowledging that I do not need to understand everything in order to obey. I only need to stay connected to you, step by step, breath by breath. Lord, help me release the need to figure it all out before I move. Teach me that hesitation often disguises itself as wisdom, while faith quietly waits for permission I never needed to give. Let me recognize the difference between discernment and delay. When you call me forward, even gently, help me respond without demanding guarantees. You have never asked me to walk alone. You have only asked me to walk with you. Father, when I look ahead and feel overwhelmed by the unknown, steady my heart. Remind me that you exist beyond my limited perspective. What feels uncertain to me is already held in your hands. What looks unfinished is still unfolding under your care. I do not need to see the full picture to trust the one who paints it. I only need to stay present, faithful, and receptive. God, I bring you the fear of making the wrong decision, the anxiety of choosing a path that leads to disappointment, the worry that one misstep could undo everything. Quiet those voices within me. Teach me that growth often comes through imperfect steps, that you are not waiting for flawless execution, but for faithful movement. Even when I stumble, you are there to guide, to redirect, to restore. Lord, I ask for the grace to trust you in the waiting. Not the passive kind of waiting that grows bitter, but the active kind that remains open and expectant. Let my waiting be filled with prayer, preparation, and patience. Let it refine my character rather than drain my hope. I do not want to rush ahead of you, but I also do not want to stay stuck when you are inviting me forward. Father, when I am tempted to compare my journey with others, gently pull my focus back to you. Their pace is not my pace. Their calling is not my calling. What matters is that I remain aligned with you. Trust grows when I stop measuring progress by external markers and start recognizing the quiet transformation within me. Even now, you are doing more than I can perceive. God, help me trust you with outcomes I cannot control, with relationships that may change, with opportunities that may pass, with answers that may arrive slowly. Teach me that trust is not about having confidence in results, but confidence in your presence. Wherever I go, you are already there. Whatever I face, you are not surprised. Lord, let this trust shape how I move through today. Let it calm my decisions. Let it soften my reactions. Let it anchor me when plans shift and expectations fall short. I do not need everything to go according to plan. I only need to stay connected to you. That connection is my stability. Father, I choose today to walk forward even when the path feels dimly lit. I will take the step you place before me, trusting that the next one will appear in time. I release the pressure to control what comes next. I surrender the illusion that certainty is required for peace. My peace is found in you, not in knowing. God, hold my heart steady as I continue this journey. Let trust become my reflex rather than my struggle. Let it rise naturally, shaped by all you have already carried me through. You have been faithful before. You are faithful now, and you will remain faithful in every step that lies ahead. Father, after walking with trust into uncertainty, I begin to see how you have gently been forming something more enduring in me, a quiet strength, a rooted steadiness. But I also notice that with each step forward, I encounter new resistance, not just from the world around me, but from within. It is the subtle pressure to harden, to toughen up, to protect myself by becoming indifferent. But Lord, I do not want to mistake resilience for numbness. I want to be strong, but I still want to feel. God, I bring you this inner tension, the part of me that wants to be unshakable, and the part of me that still wants to cry when beauty moves me, when injustice stings, when love surprises. Help me understand that resilience is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to keep showing up, even when emotion is strong. It is choosing to stay soft while walking through a world that sometimes feels too rough for tenderness. Let me never believe the lie that survival requires shutting down, that being mature means being unaffected, that wisdom means always staying composed. There is strength in feeling deeply. There is courage in staying open. I do not want to build armor that keeps the pain out, but also keeps joy, connection, and compassion from getting in. Father, I know resilience is not something you force on me. It is something you grow in me season by season, choice by choice, moment by moment. It shows up when I forgive, again when I try, again when I breathe through discomfort instead of running from it. When I speak the truth gently, even if my voice trembles. When I get up after falling and decide that hope is still worth holding. Help me redefine resilience not as a stoic exterior, but as a spirit that bends without breaking. A heart that bruises but keeps beating with love. A soul that absorbs the weight of sorrow but still makes room for joy. Let that kind of strength rise in me, not the strength that intimidates, but the strength that inspires. God, let me be a safe place for others, not because I have no wounds, but because I know how to hold space for healing. Let my resilience show in how I listen, in how I give grace, in how I remain present even when someone else's pain stirs my own. Let me remember how much tenderness the world needs, and let me be brave enough to keep offering mine. When I am tempted to shut down to avoid disappointment, remind me that numbness is not peace, it is just disconnection. And disconnection might protect me from pain, but it will also rob me of intimacy. I do not want to sacrifice connection for comfort. I want to be someone who can hurt and still love, who can fall and still rise, who can lose and still believe. Father, remind me that Jesus was resilient. He wept. He bled. He knelt beside the broken and lifted the outcast. He carried the weight of humanity without ever losing compassion. If He is my example, then I do not need to become unfeeling to survive. I need to become more anchored, more present, more like Him. Show me how to tend to my soul without becoming self-absorbed. Let my rhythms of rest be deep and intentional, so then the winds rise. I bend but do not splinter. Let me create boundaries not to punish, but to protect what is tender and true in me. Let me respond to pressure with presence, not panic. God, help me recognize what drains my resilience, constant striving. People-pleasing, staying in places where I am only tolerated but never celebrated. Show me how to step back without guilt, how to restore without isolating, how to receive care without questioning my worthiness. Sometimes the bravest thing I can do is rest. Sometimes the strongest thing I can do is ask for help. Let my resilience be marked by recovery, not resistance, by openness, not overfunctioning, by grace, not gritted teeth. I want to live from overflow, not depletion, from wisdom, not reaction, from courage, not defense. Father, I also bring you the parts of me that feel tired, that have carried too much for too long, that have worn resilience like a badge, but never stopped to ask if it is still sustainable. I do not want to glorify endurance without restoration. I want to be honest about what I need. I want to be deeply well, not just externally strong. So I choose today to stand, not in my own might, not in a posture of defiance, but in quiet trust, in steady surrender, in the assurance that I can be resilient and still gentle, that I can be tested and still tender, that I can be stretched and still whole, that you are building something in me that is not easily shaken, not because I have numbed my heart, but because I have rooted it in you. Let this resilience be something others feel in my presence, not as intimidation, but as safety. Let them see that it is possible to go through the fire and still carry warmth, to face storms and still speak softly, to bear loss and still choose life. Let my life testify that true strength is not about hiding what hurts. It is about healing honestly and loving fiercely, again and again. Father, as I carry this resilience, you have been building in me a strength that does not come from force, but from surrender. I sense you gently turning my heart toward what lies ahead, not just the day in front of me, but the broader race I have been running, the longer journey, the life you have entrusted me to live with intention. And even as I remain rooted in this present moment, I begin to feel the call to finish well, not to collapse at the end, burned out and bitter, but to arrive with clarity, grace, and a heart still soft. Lord, I bring you my desire to finish this season with honor, whether it is a project, a commitment, a transition, or a deeper chapter of growth. I want to complete it, not just survive it. I do not want to sprint in the beginning and stumble in the end. I want to move at a pace that carries faithfulness all the way through, a pace that honors what you started in me, a pace that does not lose vision or let distraction dilute what matters most. God, show me what it means to finish well, not according to external success, but internal alignment. Finishing well is not about applause or perfection. It is about staying connected to you. It is about integrity in the quiet decisions. It is about gentleness when I feel frayed. It is about showing up with presence, even when the initial excitement has faded. Let endurance rise in me, not driven by pride, but formed by trust. When I feel tempted to coast through the final stretch, wake me up again to purpose. When I want to cut corners out of fatigue, strengthen my resolve. When I am discouraged that things have not unfolded the way I imagined, remind me that faith is not built on outcomes, it is built on obedience. Help me honor this ending with the same reverence I gave to the beginning. Let me not dismiss what is left just because the finish line is in sight. Father, I also bring you the tension of bittersweet endings, the moments when something I have poured myself into is coming to a close, whether it ends in celebration or silence. Give me the courage to let it go with gratitude. Let me name what was good. Let me bless what was hard. Let me reflect without regret. Endings are not always failures. Sometimes they are just sacred transitions, invitations into the next stretch of becoming. Lord, help me not fear the end. Help me not dread the quiet after the crowd is gone, or the stillness after the work is done. Let me find you in that space too, in the uncluttered air of completion, in the holy hush that follows obedience. You are not just the God of beginnings, you are the God who finishes what he starts. And if I am walking with you, then there is purpose even in the pause. Teach me to prepare my heart for goodbyes, not with coldness or detachment, but with openness. Some endings bring grief, others bring relief, most bring both. Let me honor each layer. Let me say farewell to what no longer fits without bitterness. Let me release the familiar without fear. Let me trust that if you are closing a door, it is not to punish me, but to lead me into something new. God, give me perspective in the final stretch. Help me zoom out from momentary pressure and remember the broader story you are writing. Help me remember that finishing well is not about impressing people, it's about being faithful to you. It is about carrying peace, not pride. Surrender, not striving. Love, not just accomplishment. When I feel weary, remind me that I do not have to finish in my own strength. You are not asking me to muster energy I no longer have. You are inviting me to lean in, to trust that you are the one who carries me when I feel depleted. Let your grace be the wind at my back. Let your mercy hold me up when my muscles shake. Let your voice steady me when the noise of doubt tries to rise again. Father, show me what still needs tending before I close this chapter. A word of encouragement I have been meaning to offer. A loose end that needs closure. A thank you that still needs to be spoken. Let me move through this ending with intention, not indifference. Let me bring your light all the way to the final page. And when the last word is spoken, when the curtain begins to fall on this season, let me feel peace not because it was perfect, but because it was yours, not because I avoided failure, but because I remained faithful, not because I did everything right, but because I kept coming back to you. Let finishing well become a way of living. Let it shape how I close my conversations, how I leave rooms, how I transition between seasons. Let it be less about perfection and more about presence, less about control and more about release. Let me finish each moment with intention so that I never lose sight of what really matters: loving you, loving others, and remaining fully alive in the space between. So as this season nears its end, I choose to finish not with exhaustion, but with expectancy, not with resentment, but with reverence, not with fear, but with the kind of trust that knows you are already preparing what is next, and that even here, even now, you are still at work, finishing something beautiful inside of me. Father, after all these moments with you, soft mornings where silence made room for truth, quiet pleadings turned into steady surrender, and each breath invited something deeper, I arrive here, not at a finish, but at a gentle turning, a bend in the road, a pause before the next beginning. I do not come with finality in my spirit. I come with a full heart and open hands, ready not to conclude but to carry forward. God, this journey has changed me, and I say that not with grand declarations, but with the subtle awareness that something inside me no longer strains the way it used to. I have learned to breathe in the mystery, to rest in what I cannot name, to move through uncertainty without rushing for rescue. I have learned to live without clinging, to wait without panicking, to walk without knowing where each step will land. And in all of that, you have remained quietly, faithfully, steadily present. I now see how every moment mattered. The stillness, the struggle, the revelation, the resistance. Each chapter became a rhythm. Each prayer, a brick in something lasting. Some mornings I arrived desperate for answers. Others, I simply wanted to be held, and you met me in both, not with all the explanations, but with enough presence to get through the next breath. You were enough. You are enough still, Lord. I carry with me the soft habits that have begun to take root: the pause before I speak, the breath before I react, the way I now reach for your presence before I reach for control. I have learned how sacred it is to slow down and actually see what you are doing in the quiet places. I have learned that holiness is often hidden in routine, that prayer is less about eloquence and more about honesty, that showing up consistently, humbly, fully is more powerful than arriving perfectly. God, I know now that faith is not something I master. It is something I renew daily, moment by moment. I no longer want to live chasing mountaintop experiences. I want to live awake to the beauty tucked into normal days, to the whisper of grace in the background noise, to the miracle of just being here, alive, with breath in my lungs and purpose in my soul. I want to wake up every morning aware that this day is not owed to me, but gifted, and I want to steward that gift with joy. So I ask you now, let what has been planted in these prayers continue to bloom long after the final word is spoken. Let the posture of these mornings echo into my evenings. Let the stillness I have found here become a refuge I can return to when the noise rises again. Let the trust I have built in your character become the compass when questions return. and let this quiet strength become something others feel in my presence, even when I do not have the words. Father, I do not know what tomorrow holds, but I am less afraid of that now, not because the future feels certain, but because you feel near. And that nearness reshapes everything. I will still face loss, still wrestle with doubt, still wake up on days where joy feels like work. But now I know what to do with all of it. I know where to turn. I know how to keep my heart soft even when life feels hard. I know how to keep believing even when I can yet see. And Lord, before I close this prayer, I want to thank you for the one who walked with me through this journey, for the one listening now, quietly present in their own life, in their own morning light. They did not have to come all this way, but they did. They made room for you. They returned again and again, even when it was hard. And that, too, is holy. May they know how deeply proud you are, not of what they have produced, but of how they have stayed. May they feel it now, gentle, loving, warm, and real. To you, dear friend who has walked this path of prayer, thank you for staying through the slow mornings, through the tender places, through the hidden work. Thank you for choosing depth when distraction was easier. You have not prayed in vain. You have built something, with every word a sanctuary within yourself that no storm can shake. And now, as this moment settles, I bless you with peace, the kind that lingers long after the words are gone. If something from this journey has stirred your heart, if it reminded you of something you had forgotten, or simply gave language to what you have long felt, share it. Let your prayer find voice in the space below. Let this not be the end of your prayer life, but a new rhythm you carry forward. And if you found refuge here, I invite you to subscribe to this channel to stay connected, to let these moments continue shaping your mornings. Share this video with someone who needs quiet strength today. Let grace ripple outward from your life like light on still water. Most of all, as each morning comes again, return not to the same words, but to the same presence. Return to trust, to gentleness, to the steady light of dawn. For every day, the Spirit waits again in the hush before the world wakes, just like now, a soft breeze, quiet sky, and the whisper of God reminding you are already held. And you are not alone.